Hey everybody, it's Brian Shannon from AlphaTrends.net. Today's Friday, the 4th of December, 2020, and we have a market that continues to make new all-time highs here. Everything was up across the board except for bonds and the volatility index, so we don't really need to spend a lot of time talking about the market. It's a broken record market. Same story, innocent till proven guilty. When we have higher highs and higher lows, we give the benefit of the doubt to the buyers. When we have a market above a rising 5-day moving average, we don't fight the trend. You can look at it and think that it's up too much and that people are dumb for paying this much for stock prices or whatever. But if you fight it, you're going to get exactly what you deserve, and that is to lose money because the trend is higher, and our job is to be aligned with the trends. And the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, Russell 2000, semiconductors. There's no reason to continue to just talk ad nauseum about these markets. Have your stops. Know where you're involved. I spoke to subscribers this week about the biotechs, and now we're going to raise our stop to a minimum of here, if not up there. But the point is, things are breaking out all over the place. There have been tremendous opportunities on the long side here. Yalla was one that I had mentioned in our free webinar on Sunday night, rather. Huge move there this week. Also, Apple is even moving, and I think that for next week, what we want to look at with Apple is it broke this ascending, symmetrical triangle. And if you recall, we spoke about all the volume weighted average price levels that were converging together along with the 20 and 50-day moving average. Now we have the volume weighted average price from this most recent relevant higher low up near about 120, which I think should serve to protect as a good place for profits. And that's also the month-to-date volume weighted average price. If you're not involved in Apple, I think if it does something like this next week, then you want to look to get involved on strength, not on weakness. I'm never one to buy on weakness. To me, you want the market in your favor, the momentum that is. If you follow me on Twitter, I had mentioned laser right here before it took off. Vonage was another one that I'd mentioned right here, and cars the other day, CARS. The point I'm trying to make isn't just that there's these are great calls, which they are, but that there are still plenty of opportunities setting up in the markets right now. CWEN is one that might get going next week. This is Cleanway Energy. You look at the weekly time frame, it's in a primary uptrend. It's not extended. When I did that webinar on Monday night, I had so many questions asking me about stocks that looked like this. That is, they had already made these massive runs and people want to buy them here. You want to buy after a pullback and then after a period of consolidation. Don't be the one who needs to needlessly feel like you needlessly tie up your money here as it's pulling back, but as the buyers regain control. So keep your eye on CWEN. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned Office Depot right over here. It gapped higher, so I never got involved in it, but now it's setting up again. It's still below the declining 5-day moving average, so it's most likely, maybe a couple days away from an entry, maybe something like this next week. Keep your eye on Office Depot going into next week. RVLV is one that's got my eye. If you look at this weekly chart, it came public last year. In 2019, that was last year. And look at the volume weighted average price from the IPO, how it had been declining and offering resistance. Now it's flattened out and appears to be holding as support, a place where buyers are found. What did we see recently? Well, it ran, and people who chased this breakout got what they deserved. Instead, we look at it, let the people chase it for the breakout. We'll wait for it to pull back and then see buyers emerge. I think that getting back above this level is what gets this stock moving higher once again. Worst case stop under here, perhaps a tighter stop just underneath this level. And if you're wondering what time frames I'm looking at, if you think it's going too slow, you can always speed up these videos or slow them down with the YouTube controls. But it's always up in here is where you'll see that. Let's talk about the cryptos for a moment because they also continue to do really well. If you recall, I was buying the pullback in here, not in Bitcoin. I missed Bitcoin, but I did buy the pullback in Litecoin down in the 72 area, and it's still in a primary uptrend. If you look at the weekly chart, it's still got a lot of room to run. Same with Ethereum. Ethereum's still my favorite on the weekly time frame, and this is a weekly time frame for Ethereum. you can see we've just run from 400 to 600. So it might need some further time to digest these gains, but the fact is it is digesting in a healthy way. We saw one deep pullback, and I had mentioned on Twitter I was buying it back into that weakness, and now it continues to move higher. So regardless of what your outlook on the economy or whatever, keep an eye on the individual stocks. Some of these EV companies I think are going to set up again for a nice move next week. Solo is one of them, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on for subscribers to Alpha Trends, as well as FUV, the boat one, VMAR. These are electric boats. FIII is another EV company that did a recent SPAC. Opportunities are everywhere. srcl, still looking to get involved in this one. If you recall, I had painted the picture of this nice looking weekly chart, and it was starting to look like it was setting up, but what did we see happen? It gapped up and failed. So you don't buy into the gaps. Now I'm trying to see if this thing can recover next week. I will continue to keep an eye on this for Alpha Trend subscribers, but basically what we're looking for is something along the lines of this, where it can get back above that prior breakdown level, see the 5-day moving average start moving higher, and then perhaps we would be a buyer here with a stop somewhere underneath this low. That's the type of analysis I'm looking for next week. My bottom line is that I'm going to stay bullish as long as the market tells me to. From an intermediate term perspective, I will not waver from a bullish standpoint as long as we have a rising 5-day moving average. I'll express more caution as we get extended from the 5-day moving average, but I will expect that that pullbacks are just that, pullbacks, and not the beginning of a great reversal. I think that a lot of people are getting run over on the short side, and again, rightfully so. The trend is your friend. The trend is higher. Have a good weekend. Thank you.